you have to live to paint. I have to live life. I have to go through stuff. I have to talk to people. I have to experience things. I have to like live and breathe and inhale life. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, once I do that, then I can create.
Thanking you, Shem, so much for making time to speak with me today, because I've looked at some of your work and I've heard you speak about your work on some videos. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you and what you do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Cool.
Look forward to it too.
Sweet. So I'll just start by asking you, what first got you started in painting?
I always kind of was drawing as a child and stuff. And I was always into art, but I suppose one day I just kind of just started doing it. It was just an urge. I just had an urge to just like express myself, I suppose. And I found that painting was the thing I felt the most comfortable doing. So yeah, that's how I started, out of the blue, literally.
Well, it makes me think, because I heard you say, and it really stood out to me, where you said you have to be an artist. It's not like you decided you wanted to become an artist. You're just, I'm an artist.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, it was just like it wasn't something I kind of like decided. There was no decision, it just was. It just is. It's just like I just was compelled to paint and write and express how I feel inside. So I think it was more of a therapy kind of thing, for me.
And I want to be careful not to kind of pigeonhole you too much, because I know you do music as well, and you may do other things as well. So what are the different ways that you create?
Well, I suppose I'm a visual person a lot. I'm quite like visually. But art is my main form of creation. I used to do music a lot more, and I grew up in a music household, and it's always been a part of my upbringing and my life. But I suppose that's more of a collaboration aspect of music creation, where I find that art is more solo, just me, just getting it down. It's more pure for me. So I find that those are my two main things. And just visually, I like how things look, aesthetically and stuff like that. But I suppose, art is my main form of expression.
So what would be some of the things you express through that art?
Well, I suppose I express my feelings, my worries, my relationships a lot, my hopes, my struggles. You could look at it almost as like a notepad, or like a diary or a notepad of like, just sketches of just, mind bombs, which is just, just like coming out everywhere. It's just like a form of how to kind of make sense of the world and make sense of myself. So I find that it can vary from day to day what I express. It's what I'm going through, what I see around me, or just like things that affect me in life. So it's more like, there's no actually set kind of, direction as such. Or like, concept, you could say, like, of what I want to get across. It's just, it changes in the day, in the night, and in a period. There are a lot of these periods of which what I'm going through. So it could be a 6-month period, a year period, or a collection of thoughts. It's kind of how it kind of tends to be expressed in that way.
So the fact that it's so personal, how do you feel about sharing that when people come in and look at your work, and you've just put your heart there and people are coming to look at it?
Yeah, and that's it's funny because it's so personal, but I sometimes tend to like hide a lot of the personal stuff within the labyrinth of thoughts, so it's like little Easter eggs of like, if you follow down a rabbit hole, you can get to my personal thoughts, my heart, but I tend to like, sometimes, I don't know, it's hard. It is hard sometimes when people look at my work and I'm just like, oh my God, I've literally just spilled the beans, you know. And like, yeah, oh, they just gonna know my most personal thoughts. But then also sometimes I don't tell them it's as personal as it is, you know. I'd be like, yeah, that was just you know, like, you know, they like, what, you know, it could be a concept, you know, piece. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult initially, but I find that I'm comfortable. I'm pretty comfortable just putting it out in the art, you know. That's the way for me. If you really want to know me, you have to look into the art, I suppose. And that's yeah, I'm comfortable there.
Did you feel that way from the beginning, or have you kind of arrived that way when you first started? I mean, it sounds like you've been making art since you were little, but when you first started showing your art, did you have to kind of get to the point where you felt, okay, you know what, I'm just putting it out there and people are going to see? And
I literally was just straight away, my work was personal. Straight away. I suppose everything I do is personal. Like my creative process, my music's personal, my music taste is personal to me. You know, it's like a soundtrack of my feelings. So even like when I play my playlist, I can't even play my playlist to some people because I'm like, yo, this is like, you know, a bit too personal to how I feel. So I'm like, I'll play my public playlist, you know, but my actual like secret playlist is like, you know, I'll keep that back because I find that everything I do is personal, especially with creation. I can't really fake it, you know. I can't even create if it doesn't resonate with me. I find it difficult to just like make something, you know, because like an idea or I mean, it has to kind of resonate with my heart, my feelings for me to actually even do it or I won't actually create. So I think everything I do is very personal when it comes to creation. And it's just been that way since the day one, you know.
do you think that that's almost the balance, the fact that you are self-taught, that it had to be that way because your art is so personal that if you had gone to take, you know, sort of formal lessons and things that might have constrained or controlled your expression?
Yeah, I believe that. I think, you know, the self-taught aspect of my art practice is it's pure to me. I find it's pure because it is me. Like, you know, my mistakes in the art, my perfections in the art, whatever it is that you see in the art, it's me. It's my personality. So to me, I look at my work as my personality completely. You know, so it's like if you look at my work, you could tell that's my work because if you know me, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's definitely Shem. You know, so I feel like I think it has helped me. I mean, obviously, there's like techniques and things that I've had to learn through trial and error and stuff like that. But I do feel, me personally, I feel that it has benefited my style because it's very self-taught, very personal, very real kind of way of expressing myself, you know. So I think it's, yeah, for me personally, I mean, I'm not, you know, not complaining.
It's so, I'm like, I'm trying to wonder, how do I ask him about vulnerability? Because he's already just putting himself on a plate in the world. It's already your story.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy because, but I suppose that's my way because I suppose as a person, I'm not that vulnerable. If you know me, like, I mean, I'm quite open and honest about myself, but I suppose I'm not that as vulnerable as I am in my art as I would be if you just met me, you know. So I feel that, yeah, I don't know. I am very vulnerable in my art. I know it's crazy because, like, I'm even like, whoa. But you know, I feel like that is art to me. Like, I feel like it should be, your fears, it should be your hopes, it should be like everything about you. I feel like it should be put down in on that canvas, you know. So it's like that's how the best artists I love, you know, the work I love is when I know their personality. I can see them in their work, you know, and I feel like you have to be vulnerable to achieve that. So for me, yeah, that's the only way I can express myself, man. You know, but there's other levels, there's deeper levels we can go. You know, which is like I work in collections in a way, so I could do a collection that's more, you know, held back if I'm feeling that way over those few months, you know. But if I'm really getting into a deep, like, you know, emotional period of my life, then the work's going to be super emotional. So it's like, yeah, it's just collections and periods which I can't really decide or choose how they come out, you know. It's just, I'm just a vessel for the stream of consciousness that I'm pulling from. And that's all I am, just a vessel for that. So I'm not really in control of it as such. I'm just tapping into my energy, my source, and I'm putting it out on the canvas,
Do you ever talk to people about what they see in your work? So if you are being so pure about expressing yourself on the canvas, and then do you ever speak with people who are looking at it in terms of what do they see about Shem in that work?
Yeah, I like to discuss my work sometimes when people look at my work, because I find everyone relates to it in a different way. So they will see a message in it which I haven't even seen, and I'm like, okay, wow, okay, that's what that means, because it's like, then I'm learning from it myself, and I'm like, okay, so wow, yeah, you're right, So it's kind of like, it's just because I feel like, because a lot of my work's conversational based as well, So it's kind of like the discussion and the conversation of, okay, so what do you think that means to you? And to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that. So I suppose that people, they tend to relate. A lot of people relate in different ways to my work, which I love. I love to see people relating and finding something out of it. If I can give them something out of the work, that they're thinking or what they're going through. So I just feel like we're all going through similar things, and we all have feelings, emotions, all vulnerable at some points in our lives. So sometimes I feel like if I'm the guy that's just actually putting it out there for you to realize, okay, I feel this way too, then that's my job's done, So I feel like a lot of the time people always pick something out that they relate to, which I feel that's what I'm happy about that, And also, like I say, I'm learning from my own art in a way, certain things that I didn't know I was channeling or expressing, which other people may pick up on and then feed that back to me. So it's always a constant learning process for me. As you can say, self-taught. So it's kind of like, I'm still teaching myself through my work and through communication with other people about my work. So yeah, I finally get that quite a lot.
Oh, I love that. I think a bit about the importance of feedback and what you get from other people. So to be open, it's sort of that balance of, I don't want to be too much influenced by what people see that comes back on me and makes me change how I'm thinking or feeling about something. But on the other hand, I'm not going to figure it out all myself either. And to get that reflected back to me, even if it's not what I thought it was, and it comes back to me, I have to go, oh, hold on a second. Yeah, actually, now I see what you're talking about. Right. Okay, good.
That happens a lot, So it's like, yeah, I love that. I love when that happens, to be honest, because like I say, I'm reassuring myself. I'm talking to myself a lot in the work, So it's kind of like, maybe I'm thinking wrong. Maybe I need someone else to break down and then explain to me about how I'm feeling. So I find that's why I love it, because it's kind of like people can have my work and they might have it on their wall for a few months and then they notice something different, And then we have a conversation about it. And it's like, okay, but by the way, I like to lead you down the rabbit hole, place things and lead you somewhere else. So I like the journey of it, self-discovery of figuring yourself out and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's something I really enjoy, getting that feedback back and communicating and talking about it, because like art isn't really, in my mind, there's no right or wrong way to do art. There's just the way. So it's like, you can kind of, who am I to say what's good and what's bad art, or how to do art, because I'm not in control of anyone's expression. That's their expression, and then everyone takes it their own way. So I find that's what I do love about art and talking about it and discussing it, because I'm just putting it out there to be discussed, to be looked at, to be dissected. So it's like that's the great thing about it, which I really love.
What can I ask? I don't want to be too personal. I'm going to ask what period you're in right now, but what are you working on right now?
Okay, well, at the moment right now, I'm starting a whole new period, to be honest with you, because I've worked on a lot of work, which is being shown. Like I said, I've got my show in Korea at the moment, South Korea, and I've got a show coming up in October, and I'm now starting to work on a whole new period of work, which, like I said, for me, is like I look at it like I look at it like a fashion designer. You know, like you make a collection. Because to me, my work, I look at it as collections. You know, I paint collections. If I'm not in the mood to paint, I won't paint. You know, I have to feel it for me to paint. So I have to it's almost like my source material is breathing. You know, so it's like that's how I gain my inspiration. That's how I, you know. So I think I'm going through a new period of my life now, which is the start of a whole new kind of period, really. So I'm excited about the new work, you know, where I'm going to go. So I couldn't really tell you yet what it's actually going to be, but I can feel it bubbling up, you know, I can feel it coming. So I think I will be starting my new collection this year, and then, you know, maybe be ready for next year and stuff like that. So I wouldn't know what it is, but it's a very, I feel very kind of relieved and kind of happy. It's a happy period, you know. So it's like, yeah, I feel very like I feel good. So I feel like I'm looking forward to this new period, where a lot of the time I didn't feel as good when I was painting and stuff like that. So I feel like now I feel really good. I've got good people around me. I've got good energy in my life. So I feel like it's going to be the happy period, you could say. However that turns out, I don't know. But, you know, you know, like pain, art and pain, you know. So I don't know.
I love that. I'm feeling good. Like, I don't know, it's going to sound weird, but I can tell that I'm feeling good. I feel like,
great. There you go.
It's great energy. It's
right? Energy, you can feel the energy, and that's what it's about, you know.
yeah.
Well, so it's like, you know, yeah. So I'm in a good space. I'm looking forward to get to work on new projects for next year and stuff like that, you know. So it's been a busy year. So, you know, I could take a little time out and just live a bit and then get back to work, you know. So that's where I'm at right now. It's a good space.
As much as you describe these different periods and how you're expressing yourself through your work, do you see, when you look across all of your work, what do you see as some of the common things because I'm looking right now at your AHL icon in the background. And I'm just wondering if there's something that you can see across your work, your body of work so far, that when you say it, I know that's Shem, it's not just the brush strokes, and it's not just maybe the colors or the style, but emotionally, maybe what is it that may link all those things, those pieces?
I feel there's a few motifs that I do come back to, and a few symbols that I use, you know, and I suppose my palette and the colors I use and how I put the colors together. I find, because a lot of collectors I know and stuff, they say I'm a bit of a colorist, which is something I'm quite big on, is color. So I find that through the colors I use, you can tell my kind of work. And I find that a lot of the beings and characters that I place, I do come back to a lot of the time. And certain words as well that I repeat or whatever, which I find that is, the language I use in the art, I think you can tell it's mine. And like just the characters and how the characters are drawn, I find a very big thing that you can see, which I think is mine. And obviously my logo, my AHL head, which is something that I've always, you know, put out there just to kind of stamp my brand, you know, in people's faces. Hey, so it's like I always come back to that. But I think, I suppose colors and words, and just for me personally, it's like that's my handwriting, you know. Like it's just like I just know my handwriting. I know how I draw. So for me, it's different because I just see it. I know it's mine. But I find that now I'm getting a bit more like that now. People actually could recognize my work a lot more, and you can kind of see the style. But I suppose how I just draw the characters. I suppose, you know, the heaviness on the pen. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's hard, but I just know it's mine.
I'm just curious what music you listen to when you paint.
Okay, between me and you, but no. I mean, I listen to be honest, I listen to everything. I love jazz music. listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to like 80s kind of synth pop stuff.
That's my time. I love that. That's great.
I like a lot of 80s, late 70s proto punk stuff, 80s music, like, very atmospheric stuff. I love stuff like that. But like jazz is my go-to, I suppose, first and foremost. I'd always like to play jazz. Miles Davis, Coltrane, Chet Baker or something like that. Or I do start with that and I like, just melodic stuff. I love not too much words, just atmospheric music, that's my kind. It's like I could look almost like movie soundtrack music, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I like those kind of sounds really, atmospheric, like wide kind of music. Just makes me think a lot, stuff like that. It's all motion. I like to have the motion and the flow when I paint. So I think that those really help me a lot. But jazz gets me started.
I was just curious because you have history in music, and so I was wondering if you saw the connection from the music that you listen to and the art that you create.
Definitely, because it's like a soundtrack. I feel like I have a soundtrack when I paint, so it's like there'll be a soundtrack of music that in every collection I paint, I'll have a different soundtrack. So and I just save the soundtrack and I just paint to it. I always paint to music, so it's like something that I always have to have playing some sort of music when I paint because of the movement, because of the improvisation sometimes, and like just the energy it brings. I need the music. So, but I suppose there's always so if you look at it like a collection or like a movie, there's a different soundtrack. So it's like every exhibition has its own soundtrack. So that's how I kind of look at it in that way. So yeah, it always changes. But there's some stuff that I come back to. Some songs I always just like Suicide. That's like one of my favorite bands. And but yeah, it always changes. Like I said, how I'm feeling. But it's always music every time I work.
Yes, I'm picturing people walking into the gallery to see your show, and you've got the music that you were listening to while you painted it, and that would be cool.
That's what I tend to do, but I like I say, my music taste is a bit, so I gotta be careful, because I'm not sure everyone's gonna like my music. So
you don't worry about whether everyone likes your art, do you?
Yeah, no, I don't. You're right. So, I mean, I do at my shows. I usually tend to have a soundtrack of music that I painted the works to playing in the background, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
I want to go back to your brand with the triangle eyes and the AHL art hop life. So I'm assuming that those things are always, that's what you're saying, they're always connected for you.
Yeah. That's like a triangle. I'm kind of obsessed with Egyptology as well, like pyramids and like the stars, stuff like that, and the triangle, like the 3 points. It's like living, it's music and it's art, which is my 3 points of creativity. So I've always been always been obsessed with triangles in a way, and I made them my eyes. So my eyes are triangles most of the time. My A's. So just stuff like that, which I kind of like try to stamp my style, so people see that that reoccurs a lot of the time. So it's like, it's our top life was kind of just me kind of trying to diagnose my thing, just like if I was to put a title on what I'm about, that's what it would be, So it's kind of like, it's kind of branding, you could say, in a way. Just thinking about my style, my vibe, what I'm about, and something I can call out, and just say like, this is me, this is my school of art, So yeah, that's what art of life basically represents. Just the 3 things in my life that I find I'm drawn to the most, which is music, art, and like living, like lifestyle, culture. So those are like, my strongest forms of creativity. And yeah, that's a stamp, you could say. Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest risk you've taken so far in your career?
Wow. Okay, but they say the biggest risk is not taking the risk.
Ah, that's great. Love
Yeah.
that.
I kind of followed that rule, and I just take risks all the time. But to me personally, I feel like the biggest risk is when I decided that this is what I'm doing, and nothing's going to stop me. And even when sometimes you have to almost be delusional to the point, it's like people told me like, just it's not happening, and stuff like that. And it's like that belief that I think just believing in yourself is a big risk in itself, because it's like backing on yourself is very hard to do, and we always need some support, some guidance, things like that. But actually to believe in myself and think, you know what, I've got something here and I'm going to do it. I'm going to chase it, even when it seems like everything's against me. I'm still going to have that belief, and I think that's something that it's hard to do. And there was a point where I always say there's a point where everything's telling you to quit. And if you push through that, you're gonna be okay. But I think the majority of people quit at that point. And I think that is the biggest risk, is to keep going when everything's telling you it's not gonna happen and you should quit. And I think that belief is something that it's a big one. But yeah, so it's like having that self-belief, it's not easy. So I respect anybody that has believed in themselves and they've chased their dream and they're pushing and they're going for it, and they're risking everything for it and they're betting on themselves. So I think that was my biggest risk, was betting on myself, really. But like I said, yeah.
Why didn't you quit?
Actually, it's funny enough, I was quite prepared to be a failure. But I do art. If I was to do art as a failure, I'd be happy than to be doing a job I hate. And to me, like I wouldn't be happy unless I was doing art. So for me, if I'll be doing art when at home, I have to do art, like I said, So for me, I'm not happy unless I'm doing art. So for me, I can't quit on something that is me at the end of the day. So I'm quitting on myself. So for me, it's just like there was no other option for me. I didn't even think of anything else other than doing art, So to me, it was like I wouldn't be happy. So I had to do it, even if I had to do it. There was no other option. There was no other choice. So I think that's why I didn't quit, because it's like I can't. It's like me quitting on being happy, And I want to be happy, man. So I'm gonna do art. You have to stick to your guns. You got to stick to your guns at the end of the day.
What would be one source of support you've had that you needed at that time?
I'd say my business manager, Saya. She's been a massive support for me, and she's believed in me, and I think that's the one person that's really had my back throughout this process. So yeah, Saya, if you're listening, I love you, girl. So yeah, that's what I'd say, And my ancestors as well, who I always put in my paintings, my ancestors. So I feel like they're watching over me. So they've been a big support to me as well. Like, may not be physically here, but I can feel them.
I don't know if there are some other things that came to mind when I asked you to speak with me and talk about vulnerability.
I think it's pretty. I was in the zone. I was feeling.
Yeah. No, you were awesome.
I was nervous, but obviously, talking to you made me feel comfortable. So yeah, I feel like that was good.
Well, it's because Shem, I want to grow up and be like you.
Right, man. We'll try. I'm still, the trick is don't grow up. That's the trick, right?
No problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep as young as possible, man. So just keep that energy, So it's like, but yeah, I suppose it's good to know it's good to asked me about my collection. That was a good one because it's like I haven't thought about that. So to actually think about that is something I'm about to tap into, you know. So yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm just going to ask you about that. It's interesting when you say think about that. What, and I'm asking you because I catch myself where I will often use the word I think, because I'm going to think about that. I'm going to try to think about what I'm going to do. And I consciously, and also when I write, I think I'm going to do this, I think this. And consciously now I'm trying to force myself to just swap it out for feel. Okay, I feel like this. I have to do it very consciously, but I don't think you do. I think you're more naturally in tune with what you feel is going to be next.
Yeah, that's funny because that's one of my sayings is don't think, feel. So it's like I'm very like intuition. I use like intuition and like my stomach, my gut has never let me down, not once. So I've always relied on that, like you know, because I find like my brains, they're like a computer. It's like it's trying to take over my soul, my heart, you know. And I feel like the heart and the gut is the feeling, and I feel like my brain is supposed to work for me, but I feel like it's like AI, you know. It's like now it's trying to take over me, you know. So I feel like we have to learn to kind of. I don't overthink things, you know. I just think I like to just do. You know, if it feels right, I do it. If it feels wrong, I don't do it. You know, so it's my gut. I just trust my gut, and I feel like it's never let me down yet. I don't think it ever will. So I feel like, yeah. And it's like what people say to me a lot of times. Like I don't think about the steps to get there. I just think about what I want. Like you know, so it's like I want to do this, and then it's like there's a million steps in between, but I've not even thought of the second step. You know, I've just literally thought of the outcome, and then once I'm just the outcome is the only thing that's in my mind, you know, and my heart, and then I just let that just take me there, and everything seems to fall into place in that aspect, you know. And I think that's kind of my motto. That's kind of how I operate through life, to be honest with you. So I think like we keep it like that. I think then we'll be okay, you know.
I can relate to that as well. And I think I actually have a deficit. Like it's very difficult for me to plan the steps to get to something. And so in work, it kicks me in the butt because I don't follow the steps. And it's because I actually don't really know how to follow the steps, but somehow I stumble my way to the place where this is what we wanted. Great. This is what we're getting.
Yeah, it's like there's a book I read called Rules for Renegades. I love that book. It's like failing in success, which I think is amazing. You know, like I say, there's no L's, only lessons. So it's like, you know, that failing in success is basically how I operate as well. You know, because like, you know, like it can just happen, man. It's just like this world, like instant kind of like karma and instant thoughts. Like you can actually manifest things. You know, and I feel like I'm a big believer in that manifestation of, you know, how I feel, the things I watch, what I eat, everything is towards the goal. So everything around me, everything I'm absorbing is towards the goal. And I think if you do that, I think the goal's achievable. So it's like, you know, that's how I operate, really.
Thank you so much, Shem. I really appreciate you taking the time today. I really enjoyed this.
You too. Thanks for the call, man.